philosophy. Or if you look at people like Newton or people that have made major contributions, these feels like these are scholars that sit in rooms all day, like studying and reading and stuff. It's not like a worker in a field, invented calculus or discovered something, right? It's almost always going to be coming from like wealthy, well-educated, I don't want to say elites, but kind of, yeah.
Well, you're more like the priest class, right? Like, I don't know if you would call because like a lot of these people also they're like a lot of this research is being done by priests, right? Who've taken like
I would
like,
easily
poverty.
call the priest class part of the yeah, of course, 100%. They tend to be very well educated. They tend to be very well educated. They tend to have a lot of like financial means available to them. They carry a lot of power in society. Yeah, of course. Had high social status. How would they not be part of like the elite class?
Because there's different types of priests, right? Like you're talking, like you could say, like who has more like authority there, like a Waldensian priest, like a Cathar priest, like or a Catholic priest, like at the same time, like one of them has like the Roman Empire behind them, one of them doesn't, but like they're both priests.
Sure, but comparative within their own class structure, I'm pretty sure that the priest people, regardless where they are compared to the general population, I can't believe this is contentious. Let's look at the other side.
I'm not.
Are you trying to say that like you think that a lot of like scientific breakthroughs just came from like normal random people? They just jotted down an idea and that was like.
No. That's not really what I mean. Although there are cases like people like discovering things like purely accidentally, and then having these like findings or whatever be found to be like more useful by these more whatever, however you want to put it, learned or educated.
No,
people.
I don't think that is the case. Unless you have like several like noteworthy examples. I think generally most research is funded, paid for, and done like by elites or it's all like technological advancements that are like utilizable by them. Whether it's ways to make capital more efficient, whether it's scientific advancements that you need to be highly leveraged advancements for. I just totally, I don't know what you're, I don't know if it's like ideologically loaded because you're coming from a very left background that you want to have the feeling that like the average person is like.
I wouldn't say I'm from like a very left background. I'm from like a very mixed background. Like I've been through, like I talk to pretty much everyone around the spectrum. I read a lot of what you might call leftist stuff. I read a lot of rightist stuff.
Sure, this particular claim is just really wild to me. It seems like one of the least contentious things in the world. Yeah, go ahead. What am I missing?
I think you're misunderstanding like the point that I was trying to make. Like my point was more or less that like you're saying that like this battle of ideas, like in the immediate moment, it might appear that actually like a falsehood or a lie has like won. It's like been more rhetorically persuasive, like in a particular moment. What I'm saying is that in the grand scheme of time, like in like a larger picture of time, that the truth tends to win out over falsehoods.
I don't know if that is the case. Yeah, I'm not. I
so then my question is, over falsehood over the last like 2,000 years. Are we closer to having truth than we were 2,000 years ago?
I mean, in some domains, yeah, but I mean, it's hard to know like how we measure that. Do we measure that in terms of like what did we know what do we know today about 2,000 years ago, or do we measure that based on like what do people today know? Like that's the difference, right? So like in some ways, like we know a lot more about ancient history and what happened today than the average person living in that time period might have known about some things going on around the world because they didn't have access to the tools. But then in another sense, half the people today in the United States believe the last election was stolen. So is that closer to the truth? Like I don't know, or half the people.
I mean, like in a total sense, in like
it's such an empty, hollow claim to talk about truth in a total sense. Because I think that you are devoid of all like insight. Say something like that. I don't even know how we can measure the truth. I don't. Even that's a difficult one. I mean, like we can do. I guess. What do you mean when you say truth? Maybe that would be a good place to start.
I would say that things that are, it's like the beautiful and the good, the true is the beautiful and the good. Like,
okay, I don't know anything about
it. The true is the good. It's all the same. Like everything that's good is true and all true things are good. Truth is truth. It reveals things as they actually are, like reality, giving like a depiction of reality as it is. That's the truth.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you define it. It could just be statements that logically follow axiomatic things. Truth could be some statement about like a fact, like a descriptive fact of the matter of a thing, like things that exist in reality based on how you measure things. I don't know. I guess it depends. Saying that truth is like the I mean, like it's almost begging the question at that point, right? Like truth and beauty, or beauty itself is incredibly subjective. So I mean, if you ask someone who's closer to the truth today than we were before, you're really just asking them, like, are you happier with the world today? Would you rather go back to another point, right?
So when you say something like beauty is subjective, would you say that's true? Like, how do you know that's true?
Basically by tautology. Beauty tends to be our subjective enjoyment of a thing, and subjective enjoyment things can't really be absolute truths unless you want to say it's true to an individual. Like, it's true that you can have a subjective experience about something, but I don't think that your subjective experience like imparts some objective reality onto the thing that you're observing.
But if like 100,000 people all subjectively experience the same thing as you,
If 100,000 people all said 1 plus 1 was 3.
I think those are the same types of judgments. Aren't you saying one's like, this is like, if 1 plus 1 is 2, it's not really the same thing as like, is this painting beautiful or something like that?
If you were to play 100,000 people from the year, 200 CE, some piece of music today, I don't even know if they would understand what's happening. They might totally not have it. And if you were to play a bunch of people today, music from like pre-music history stuff, they might hear it and think it's garbage as well. So no, I don't think you can rely on a person.
Maybe.
Almost
you can do that. I mean,
so I don't think you can make these absolute statements on like what is beauty.
I mean, I think you can, considering I have, like maybe I can't. Like, you should probably be arrested if they do
No, say you can't make a statement. Do you think that I'm saying that you literally can't make a statement? Is that what you think I just meant?
I'm wondering what you mean by that, yeah. Like, what do you
think I mean when I say you can't utter that statement?
I think you mean I shouldn't.
Yeah, it's like not true, right? You can't say that. I mean, you can. I mean, theoretically you can.
You mean you shouldn't say that, right? Like, so you're saying like one ought not to say such things, right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, we'll say that. You shouldn't say that because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I don't know how you could ever, like, if I play you a song, how can you tell me if it's objectively good or not? How can you ever say that?
I've listened to enough music to know. My opinion is I'm good at listening to music.
So if I listen to a piece of music and you listen to a piece of music and I say I think that this music's bad and you think it's good, how can we ever objectively resolve that dispute between us?
We would have a debate about it, right? Like, we talk about our reasons for thinking it's good versus thinking it's bad, right?
Yeah, but what if one of the reasons is like, I like this instrument in the song, and you're like, well, I hate that instrument in the song. How do we resolve that?
Well, that would be one of many reasons, right? Like, we wouldn't be able to resolve that, actually.
Yeah, that's the point. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of...
Hello, follow me. Wait. Hello, follow me. Follow me. Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello, follow me. Hello. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Follow me. Okay. I don't know. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Oops. Hello. 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 Follow me. Okay. 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 Follow me. Follow okay. Me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Oops. Hello. Follow me. Hello. Okay. Wait. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Hello. Okay. Oops. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. I don't know. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Oops. Hello. Follow me. Hello. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. Follow me. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Follow me. Okay. Hello. 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 Follow me. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Hello. Okay. Oops. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Follow me. Okay. Hello. Follow me.
What?
I don't know. Hello. Follow me. Hello. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Okay. Wait. Okay. Hello. Follow me. Okay.
What? What? Ow! Ow! What? 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 Ow! Ow! Hi. What? What? Ow! Ow! Hi. Ow! Ow! Hi.
A lot of subjectivity from both of us in here that it's going to, by definition, have no resolution. So how can we ever make a statement about something being beautiful or not?
Because you want to express that if you feel that, right?
Yeah, but I don't express
do
it
you
as
ever
an
call
absolute
anything
truth.
beautiful?
Yeah, but I don't express it as an absolute truth. I express it as a subjective evaluation.
Do you think that anyone could have access to like an absolute truth, like you mean like
it
1
exists.
+ 1 = 2?
Mathematically axiomatic things. Sure, it seems to be the case. If we believe in like faculties of reason and logic, you have to grant that like math follows. Sure, but I think that's fundamentally different than like a subjective evaluation on art.
Hello, follow me.
This is like, it's interesting. I don't know. You should read some
Wait.
German books. Right? Like this is what their questions are all about, right? Like it's like what the critique of pure reason is all about, right?
Hello.
Like, are these sorts of questions like mathematical judgments like same way, or do they have like some sort of closer proximity to absolute truth? Or how do you know? What if mathematics is just like a game? You know?
I believe the term is mathematics.
Hello.
Unfortunately, uncanny reality. It seems like we're probably not
So does language, right?
no, not at all.
I think language has like an uncanny ability to map onto reality. Like, you know, when you describe like
language
free, you kind of know what it is.
Language is just when you say things, we're hoping that you have a similar thing in your mind that I have. It's not a thing that maps onto reality, it's a way to communicate with each other. It's fundamentally different than mathematical truths. Like, we see reality
Isn't that true
and
of
we make...
mathematical truths, though? Like,
No, my understanding is that, like, you can use...
One is the same thing.
No, you can use mathematical things to, like, predict reality, right? I think, like, if you go, like, really heavy into physics, you can make mathematical algorithms that have nothing to do with things that we've observed before that end up being predictive of things that are true. I don't think language isn't predictive like that.
I think it is though. Like, have you ever read like you read some like really insightful like piece of literature or whatever, and it's sort of like you can sort of see that these sort of social dynamics or like truths about like human relationships or whatever.
You've moved away from language now, and you're moving on to something fundamentally different, like grander concepts that are given to you by
language. Like stories, like do stories have predictive power? Like when I tell you a story, like
no,
that have any predictive power for you?
I don't know.
Really? None?
I don't think you can like I don't think you can make like a scientific prediction with just a story, right? Like these are different. It's a fundamentally different type of question.
Okay, but like let's say like you meet someone and you've heard and they're like telling you about this other person they met. And they're saying that, hey, this person they came to my door, right? They came to my door and they said that they just need to use your phone. So I let them in to use my phone and then they robbed me. And then this guy shows up at your door and he's like, hey, like I really just need to use your phone. Do you think that story would have any predictive power to you in that circumstance?
Like in a way, but it's just fundamentally different than like a mathematical. Because you're talking about like the difference between like inferencing versus like deductive truths. They're just fundamentally different things. Like a deductive truth means that conclusions always follow a certain set of premises. Math is built around these types of axioms. Given some set of arguments or statements, deductively there will be a conclusion that will always logically follow. It has to. Us being human beings, it will always follow. Things like a guy came to my door, tomorrow maybe another guy will show up and rob you. You don't know that's 100% true. You're making inferences at that point. That's more inductive or even adductive reasoning. It's a fundamentally different type of truth. It's a different type of thing.
Hello. Follow me.
Okay, but is that still a truth?
Wait.
Like, I don't know. Like, like for practical purposes, what is the distinction between these types of truths or like these types of predictions?
I just told you what it is. The difference is that one is like deductively true, necessarily so, like as in it logically follows. That logically follows part of it means that given a set of premises, like a conclusion will always follow. You don't have the same thing as explorers or
So there's like lack of certainty. Like there's more uncertainty in language than there is in math.
It's okay. Okay, let's back up. What are we trying to accomplish with this conversation? Are you trying to say that like if I can tell a story with language that might predict a future event, then language can adequately describe something as being objectively true the same way that mathematics can, because mathematics also makes predictions.
Yeah.
Hello. Follow me. Okay.
Without getting into like
Hello.
the
Follow me.
weird.
Okay.
Give me
Wait.
It's like a very strong claim I have to make in order to,
Okay.
like, you know, make my worldview make sense, right?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
So I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna step into an area here. I'm going to say that mathematics and the ability to understand mathematics, I think, is something that is granted to us a priori. I think it's like it's an extension of a human's natural ability to reason. So, for instance, if I
What
show
about language?
I'm not there yet. If I show somebody one banana and they understand math, and I tell them there's going to be like 3 bananas, the person can understand like what is going to be 3 bananas without having to see 3 bananas. They have like inbuilt inside. If I show somebody like 2 and say 4 are coming, like you have this a priori gift inside of you that allows you to understand deductively things that would give you the ability to grasp mathematics. That's one thing. So
Sure.
being able to, so this is one thing. When it comes to language, or what language is, in my mind, what language does is language gives us the illusion of being able to communicate thoughts and ideas to one another. That's what language tries to do.
Hello.
That's what we think it does. What language actually does is all of us
Hello.
have
Follow
some
me.
set of
Hello. Follow me.
experiences. We can
Okay.
call them qualia if you want, or just experiences. And we assign words to these experiences, and then we
Hello.
share the
Follow me.
words with the experiences. And then when we communicate with each other, if I say a word, I'm hoping that I'm communicating an idea, but what I'm really doing is I'm saying a word, hoping that it brings up in you the same type of feeling that I get when I say it. And that's what language is. It's a way for me to say utterances that are proxies for feelings and experiences that we have in the world. Do you agree
Okay,
or
I don't agree with your vision of language.
Okay, what do you disagree with about
Disagree. So for instance, like you were saying that like
Hello.
it gives us the illusion of communication.
Okay.
Yes.
Effectively, you're saying that like
Correct.
language is effectively like communication never like really occurs. We like
Correct.
at our
We can't
best.
communicate. Sure, yes.
So what are we doing right now?
We are
just, like,
hoping that
trying
we
to
have the same
push each
set
other's
of
levers.
we have the
Just
same
trying to pull each other's emotional levers and like manipulate each other into acting and responding the way we want them to.
Okay.
Hello.
So
Hello.
right now you and I are making a few assumptions with each other. One is we hope we have a shared language, which we do. We both speak English. And then 2, we hope we have a shared vocabulary, that we've heard of the same words, and then we can have those same associations. So that's exactly what's happening. For instance, if I were to go up to somebody and I would say, hey, let's say it's a person that's been locked in a colorless room their entire life, and all they have is like a box to sleep on. And I were to try to say to that person, hey, I have a red fluffy pillow. I can never communicate that idea.
I know these debates. I know these debates.
Wait,
I
I'm
get
not-
it.
it's
You don't
not-
have to
I'm-
give me the
It's not a debate.
analogies.
Well, okay, well,
I
you're
can
disagreeing with
just
something that I
move on.
consider to be like incredibly like easy to
No,
understand.
but
I can't communicate
I'm
equality to
saying
somebody.
Let me say something. So right now, we actually are communicating, even though we do share like the English language. We don't actually share the same vocabulary because the way I would use words and the way you would use words, totally different ways. And taking that into account on my end, I can still communicate with you through the process that like I'm engaging in right now.
But only because we have a shared basis by which to try to draw inferences
Follow
about
me.
what those words
Hello.
mean.
Okay.
We don't know 100% their inferences. So like
both
earlier
live
when you were
in the
talking about
world.
literature review, you were like, oh, they recommended Mills, that's gross. But oh, dialectics by Hegel or whatever, that's based. Made me think like, oh, okay, this guy's probably a little left. I don't know that 100%, but it was just like an inference that I drew, right? We can try to draw inferences about each other's language. I'm not trying to say you're leftist. I'm just saying that even if we misunderstand, or even if we don't think we should use the same words, we can draw inferences. But if I were to start speaking to you in Spanish, you would have no idea what I'm saying. Our ability to communicate is gone, right?
I would do okay because there's a lot of similar roots, right? Like there's a lot of Spanish, like Latinate roots. Like our languages, those two languages are like deeply tied together
No.
through like
Hold on.
Latin.
If you don't speak Spanish and somebody starts speaking Spanish to you, you're not going to be able to have a conversation.
If you spoke Portuguese, you could.
I'm not talking about Portuguese and Spanish. I'm talking about Spanish and
No,
English.
but I'm saying this is like specific. Like this is a specific like subset though, right? Like like there are some mutually unintelligible English dialects.
Okay.
Even though it's the same language.
No, you're missing the point completely. What I'm saying is that there has to be some shared understanding of the words that we're using that we have both individually already mapped onto some concepts for us to have a conversation. I can't convey a new qualia, a new concept to you unless we have some shared
Hello.
foundation by which to
Follow me. Okay.
So have we ever produced a new concept, or did we get all of our concepts at a certain point? When did, like, we don't produce
I think we have to have experiences and we build off of those. And then we communicate with each other or just saying it has the same foundation for experiences. Yes.
like we do have the same foundations for experiences. We're human beings, like in reality.
That doesn't mean we've always had the same experiences.
Okay.
Well, we have most of the same experiences.
That
You know, like, we
absolutely
have
might
hands,
not
we
be
have,
true.
like,
A woman might not be able to communicate what it's like to have a period or a baby. One person in some area might not be able to communicate.
you would to a woman.
What?
You would to a woman. I mean,
Exactly,
it's not
because a
like
woman has the
you
experience
try-
already. That's the point. That's my point. Yes.
Yeah, but they could also communicate to men. It's just more difficult, right? It's more difficult to translate an experience, but it's not impossible.
If
Like,
a man,
through metaphor.
no, it literally is impossible. Yes, it literally you can't do it.
No, you do it through metaphor. Like you can't imagine. Like,
When you
someone
do it through metaphor,
you have an experience.
what you're doing through metaphor or simile is you're trying to hope that you can map it on from another experience. So if I say I have a fluffy pillow, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck a fluffy pillow feels like, I can never touch a cat, then what you're hoping in your head is, okay, well, hopefully he's touched a cat before, and then I can map that onto that experience. But you're not actually creating, you're not inventing a new experience in their head. You're just trying to map on the things that they already know.
Okay, but if I'm okay, so like, what if you read like when you read a novel, like a fantasy or a sci-fi novel, right? It's like taking place in a completely different, like in a new realm, and like there's alien creatures, blah blah blah, whatever you want to put it. You can identify with these people, and like you can like relate or empathize with people going through like situations that you've never gone through, and it can
No,
like you can
that's not
feel
true,
of ways about it.
That's-
You've never watched like a war movie.
Hold on,
and,
wait.
like,
Okay,
felt
so
moved,
first,
like watching Band of Brothers
you use
or
like
something?
fantasy. When we talk about like fantasy or science fiction, the things that are talked about in these books are almost always universal struggles. If you're reading young adult literature, it's almost always going to be like coming of age. If you're reading something more mature, it
Okay,
might
so we
relate
do actually have a basic ground, right? Like everyone does
Yeah, there's
actually
gonna be
have
some-
sort of basic.
Yeah, there's going to be some
things,
basic, yeah, but
right?
assuming you've already had these experiences, yeah, of
Right.
course. But you have to have the
Even
experience.
Even if you haven't had them yet.
No, if
But
you,
like,
if
when
you
you're
haven't
like
had them, you're not going to have
14, you
them.
can sort of
No, you're not going to have the foundation
understand
for it.
some things about.
No, you won't.
So you don't think you can know anything until you've experienced it yourself.
Until you've had some level of experience, yes.
Hello.
So, like, wait, how can I ask how old you are?
Hello.
28.
Okay, so I'm 33, okay. So, like,
Hello.
when in high school, this is something that was repeated to me all the time, right? A lot of the men and a lot of the people going over to fight wars are just boys. They're young children. They're children. It's crazy. They're 18, 19. Well, when I was in high school, I was like 16, 17. That didn't mean anything. Like, okay, whatever. These kids are like in college, like, I guess. Okay, or they're like seniors or whatever. Now that I'm 33, and I think about like drafts and people being sent to war that are like 18 and 19, that statement gets way different. Because 18 and 19 are like, holy shit, it's like actually children. That's fucking wild. There are a lot of things that I understand now as an adult, and I can't the same way. You can't, unless you're just going to be like a contrarian, right?
No, for
There are
sure.
some things that
No,
today
for
you
sure.
understand being older,
Not
that if they were
disagreeing.
told you when you're 20, you have no basis to understand these things. You
Oh,
can't.
absolutely.
No.
Illusion.
But not because you were stupid, just because you lacked experience.
No, because I was stupid.
Well, but you were stupid because you didn't have the experiences. You're not
I was also
delusional.
completely delusional.
No,
You are. When you're a teenager, you're absolutely delusional.
No, you're not delusional. You're just lacking
Yeah,
experience.
the world that you imagine. Yeah, but like because of that, you like don't have like a real relation to reality. Like you're like LARPing.
No,
all the
you're
time
not.
as
You
a
have a real
teenager.
relation to reality. Your relation is that of a teenager. That's why when you read young adult novels, all
Yeah.
of them center on like the struggles of being a teenager, like finding your right. Like look at like Harry Potter or fucking the Bella
Yeah,
vampire
you're like-
shit or whatever. It's
you're-
all of it is about the teenager like finding out who they are and their identity and shit. Yeah, but that's not bad. It's not delusional. That's normal.
Hello.
It is because it ultimately becomes a tragedy. Like that's like the tragedy of adulthood, right? Is that like your romantic, like your delusional understanding of the world, like your romantic understanding coming from like a sort of more protected childhood into like engaging with the real world. Like ultimately that's going to hurt you in ways, right? And then like when you like are like actually like an adult, like you can sort of take like that type of suffering more seriously than you could when you were a teenager, right?
Sure. I mean, you get a deeper appreciation for the good and the bad in the world as you
So I would agree with you on there that like you can't like you have to like mature as like a person.
Yeah.
Before you can like, really understand
Well, no, hold on. I'm not gonna let you use these words. It's not mature as a person. If you were to lock a 17-year-old up in a room and bring them out when they're 27, they're not gonna be more mature. It's that you've collected a certain number of experiences as a person. This is why somebody who's 19 can be more mature than somebody who's 22. If the 19-year-old graduated high school when they were 17, 18, got a job and moved out, and the 23-year-old is still living in a dorm doing college. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying like the experience collection is important.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be like, this is like you could say this collecting of experiences is like education, right?
Sure, a type of education, yeah.
Like if like you're like for instance, like if you've only collected the same experience over and over again for like 20 years, like you probably haven't learned that much, right?
Sure, but I'm just saying, I'm like going back to the where we got off on this tangent. I don't know what can you think of a single idea that you could communicate to me that I have no foundation already for? Like, could you communicate a truly novel concept that I have no shared understanding of to me?
Sure. Okay, I have a lot of them. Oh my God.
Just think of like one.
Right. John Dee, the Archmagus of Queen Elizabeth IV, right? During like the Elizabethan times, the Tudor era of England, the time of Shakespeare, etc. He was an alchemist and magician and various other things, but he had a very interesting interpretation of the Trinity, and what he described as he described finding the quaternity within the Trinity, within like the Trinity of the Christian Godhead. What does that mean to you?
The Trinity is the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
So how would you find the quaternity within the Trinity?
I don't know.
And so this is a new concept to you, right?
Okay.
But it's built off of prior concepts of consciousness.
Obviously, it's built off of prior concepts.
But if I didn't have those prior concepts. Okay, so I guess to go back to like the debate argument, right? Could you describe the color red to somebody without seeing the color red and make them understand what red is?
It's like a kind of irrelevant question when it comes to like whether or not we can build the new concepts off of like the groundwork of existing concepts.
But I don't disagree. Of course you can build new concepts off the groundwork of other concepts. That's possible. But you need that foundational understanding first. If you don't have it, then you can't do it.
That foundational understanding is like language, right?
No. The foundational understanding is the experience. Language just tries to map onto that. If I get a tummy ache, if something hurts, and I look up to somebody, I'm like, blarg, and I point to my stomach, and then I have a pain, and later on, they point to their stomach, and they're like, oh, this hurts, and I'm like, blarg, and they're like, blarg, now we have a now we've created a word that we both understand maps onto something. If later on I get the same type of pain in my head, and I point to my head, and I go, hublarg, and they look at me and they're like, oh, hublarg. Maybe they understand hu means head and blarg means pain, and now they're like, oh, I have head pain, and now we've created that concept.
I think that's like a very cutesy sort of like just so story for the creation of language, but that actually doesn't work. Like your model here that you provide, it doesn't work at all, because you actually don't know if you're just both using the same word to describe like
exactly. I agree, but now you're stumbling into you're stumbling into a whole. You're stumbling into a whole.
You would say like actually no. I feel more like nauseous. I feel sort of more like heartsick.
I understand.
Seasick.
Yes.
Like you feel more like.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. Welcome to the difficulty in all of modern medicine and with philosophy and neuroscience. Yes, it's very hard to know if the things that we say to one another are truly actually the same thing. We don't know that. Some would argue it's impossible.
Yeah.
To know
So you have to have like a refinement of language in order to like better communicate.
No,
the precise concept.
No, you can't communicate. It's impossible. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Language is the best thing you've got. But nobody will tell you like, oh yes, you can perfectly communicate one experience with another. You can't do that. You just have to hope that they have a similar understanding. There's no way for you to know that. You can never know that.
Well, you're saying that you can't perfectly do it. What you mean is that you can't do it with absolute certainty.
We can't do it with anything. Like, you don't even know if I'm having a conscious experience. I can be a philosophical zombie to you. You don't know that. You have no idea what my understanding is of the world.
I won't treat you. It might be tempting to treat you as a philosophical zombie, but I'm trying my best not to.
Wait, hold on. When I say philosophical zombie, do you know what I mean when I say that?
No, what do you mean? Yes, I know what you mean.
Okay, yeah, so I might not have a conscious experience at all, but there's no way for you to know that my actions there's no way for you to know that.
Well, how do I know that I have a conscious experience?
I don't know. I think, therefore, I am. It's the most foundational aspect of yourself, right? Is it a demon lying to you the entire time? Yeah. But I mean, like, even that is theoretically.
How does Descartes know that?
What?
Descartes has to disclose this to himself, right, through language.
And I think
he didn't invent his own language, so that's not really the foundational thing, right?
he
The
doesn't have to.
foundational thing
He
is
doesn't
when-
have to disclose
to
that
learn
to.
language.
No, he doesn't have to disclose that to himself in a language. He's using language to communicate concepts to you, but he can intuitively understand them as well as he
Do you
can.
think in language? Do you disclose your thoughts to yourself, like in language, or like how do you think?
I
Like, what's
personally
your
do,
thought
but some
process
people
like?
don't. But I do. Yeah.
Okay, so like when you think you actually are disclosing yourself to yourself through language, right?
For some things, yeah. But I mean, like, I tend to have like a
Sure,
dialogue.
so-
But not everybody does.
Like, do you
so,
think
I
you
mean,
could do that without language? Like, what? You don't even know. Like, you can't even imagine to be a person but not utilize language, right? Like, it seems almost impossible.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that I'm getting the experiences from the language. I just can't imagine living and not being able to communicate with other humans.
Well, you can get. Do you imagine things? Like, when you imagine like someone else's experience? Well, let's say like you have like someone who's like extremely good at expressing their own experiences, like they're like a master with their language such that they can like really draw you like realized imaginative vision.
Think about what
their
that means. When someone is really good at doing that, what does that usually mean? It usually means that they're either describing something so well, or they're using enough examples for an average person to follow along that they can map it onto their own experiences. That's usually what that means. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's
Sure, or things that are like analogous to them.
exactly,
Right?
yeah, because you have to
Like-
use analogy because you're looking for other experiences.
Because like metaphor is and like analogy, metaphor, all these things are language because language is itself just entirely composed of metaphors and analogies.
Okay, well, yeah, but that was my original statement. You seem to say that we could communicate new
yeah.
concepts to
I'm
each other,
saying
and I'm
these
saying that
things-
you need a foundation. You have to have some shared experience
absolutely.
originally. Okay, then I don't know. We even disagree on
Yeah.
that. I think you've moved your position, but that's fine.
What I'm saying
Okay.
is that I think I really haven't. I'm saying that language, like you're saying, this is like this imperfect sort of like continually being constructed thing that has never absolute certainty. So you're kind of like disprivileging it as like a zone of like the disclosure of truth, right?
Can you disclose truth with language? Yeah, no, I don't generally know. I mean, it depends, I guess, on
I
what
don't
you're
think that
talking
you can
about.
disclose truth with language, really.
I mean, it
Like, you can
depends on
ultimately disclose truth with math.
depends on what you're talking about, and it depends on what kind of language you're talking about, what you consider a language. Because I know that you want to say like, well, what about math? What if I communicate math to each other? But like theoretically, like math is something that can be like communicated without language, but you can use a language to, but like the language isn't the math. The language is just mapping onto like mathematical concepts. It's a fundamentally different thing.
Hello.
You're not creating math.
Math is a language.
No. Math comes
is
comes
language.
before language, right? Language
It's not true.
Okay, we just fundamentally disagree on that. If the whole
I don't
universe,
think
if
that's
the whole
true.
universe were devoid of humans, would one rock and one rock still have like two rocks?
The whole world was divorced of humans, there would be
Hello,
no concept
follow
of
me,
any of these
follow me,
things
follow
because
me.
they're human concepts. There would be a totally meaningless question because there'd be no meaning in the world either. There'd be nothing to observe the world and be conscious of it. It would just be nothing.
Okay.
If there's no humanity in the universe, then the universe is entirely void of
The
meaning.
exact time and place.
Sure. Okay. I'm familiar with this concept. Okay, well, what do you want to talk about next?
I don't know, do you like books? I'm actually a book guy. I'm like my podcast is called Read Books VLT. Logo Daedalus, by the way, to shout myself out here. If anyone interested. But I mostly like books. Like, what books do you like? What's your favorite like?
I haven't read anything like recreationally for a long time. I used to. If I am reading stuff, it's usually like scientific studies and shit. I don't even remember the last thing that I read for fun. It's all like shit, like some boring.
Okay, like what do you like?
In terms of fantasy or in terms of
Like anything.
Honestly, it depends on what's going on. If I have a big debate coming up, I'm maybe really interested in like World War II shit or like Russian history. If it's just like on the show, it's like really
Keep hating your life then, working class Andy.
So did you ever do you ever like read like canon? As they say, like you know, like a great books course or something. Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, I did in English 3 and 4, so we read a ton of like and Beowulf and Stranger, like
and like Homer.
We must have read poetry by Homer. I think it was in one of our really big English books, but not like everything by him. I think he has like a ton of shit right.
Thought it was boring.
Yeah, for sure. Homer,
Really?
like Oedipus,
What
all that
translation
shit.
did you read?
I don't know, but it's incredibly boring to me. The translations suck, and I just.
You read a bad translation. Because that shit rocks.
Honest to God, I don't think it has to do with a bad translation. I think it has to do with, I think that when you're 16, 17, you don't give a fuck about any of the shit. or any of these fucking stories.
It's not true for me. I love reading. Like, my whole life, all I care about is, like, reading.
Okay.
Like, I loved reading. I read that. I remember when I was in 5th grade, and I loved it. I don't know, I just love books. I feel like reading is like really important because it like stretches your historical imagination, especially to like read things that people have been writing like from like thousands of years ago, etc. Just sort of like try to absorb like a large picture of human development in time. It's like what I'm interested in, is trying to have like a really big picture view of things. I feel like you're not as interested in that, I guess.
Yeah, I think I am. I just don't typically get there by reading. It'll be through, or I won't be reading books usually. It just depends on what the subject is.
Like, what other means can you like say that you wanted to like know how like a Roman thought in the year like 300 AD? Like,
Could be through a
you're supposed to do that
documentary. It
without
could be through
reading.
some exploratory essay. It could be through a video. It could be through some sociological study. It could be, I don't know.
But like, I mean, like, how would you know like what they themselves like when you could just read themselves in like their own words, like,
Keep
or like
hating
through
your
a
life
translation?
then,
I
working class
suppose. Like,
Andy.
is that like ultimately like the closest you can get?
Maybe not necessarily. It just depends.
If you're like getting it mediated, like if you're not reading primary sources, then you're just like getting it mediated by so many levels.
Oftentimes, we lack the understanding to contextualize primary sources. That's why if you're reading a lot of high-level stuff, usually you'll have like annotated versions or stuff will be in the columns explaining like what a particular phrase
for sure.
meant or what they. So no, I don't even agree. That's not.
You can
That's,
equip yourself.
yeah, sure, but I mean, like at that point, it's not even like your like primary source wouldn't necessarily be the most important. Well, like a more important might be a secondary.
Definitely the most important.
Okay.
Definitely. The primary sources are like so important. Like I always highly recommend people read primary sources. You know, like I feel like it's like a huge tragedy that people don't read like Abraham Lincoln's like writings and like his letters, and, like John Adams and like the founding fathers. Because like we have all these amazing like primary sources. You can just like read people's debates. Like I love reading like the old flame wars, you know, of like all these people writing under pseudonyms during the Revolutionary War era. Like it's so much like our own present time. You know, like everyone writing under like pseudonyms and like blaming each other and trying to get people kicked off of newspapers and whatnot. It's literally the same thing going on today.
Sure.
So like that's why I think primary sources are like you can't really get that sort of feeling of like how similar things are without
I mean,
like.
if you want to go like an
directly looking
extreme,
at
like
primary
some people would
sources.
say that like reading translated text then people do is pretty right. This is why some people that study moral philosophy
Yeah,
won't
that's
do it unless
definitely
they can read
true.
like Germans.
It's definitely true to a degree. Like you can get more or less like better or worse like translations. Like ultimately, like there is something lost in translation, or there's things even added or whatever in translation. Like that's one of the biggest problems I think with like Western Marxists is that like the specific translations of Marx's work into English have like totally botched some of like the vocabulary from like German idealist thought, and it's like led to like these complete like aberrations of thought that people think are like Marxist, and they're like not at all. They're like completely wrong. It's like most of the time when people are using the term like abolish and like quoting Marx, they're like they're like completely desecrating the source material. So there's like a lot of stuff like that for sure. Like you gotta like if you want to like get into things, you have to like really serious. You know, like it takes a lot of work to like really read. It's like a lifelong job.
Gotcha.
I don't know. That's what I'm interested in. I feel like you like you're more like you play strategy games. Do you ever play Advance Wars by Web?
Nope.
Do you ever play Advance Wars like at all?
No, I've never.
Fire Emblem?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Like Fire Emblem, but like with like modern army stuff, basically. It's like a Nintendo franchise from like a long time ago. It's just like a very basic like turn-based strategy. But that's the only game I play. They have like an online service. It's pretty fun. You should check it out sometime. You like RTSs, like you like StarCraft, right? Like got a really deep competitive scene.
Gotcha. I'll consider it if I have time.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably better than Elden Ring, but I don't know. Elden Ring, I heard, is okay. I mean, like, it's interesting to me because, like, I feel like you engage a lot with, like, video games. Like, video games are kind of like, they have, like, an element of the literary to them, like, sort of very subvertly, you know? Elden Ring is based off of so much of, like, Western fantasy influence in Japan, you know?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the video game you're playing, sure.
So aren't you like fighting? Like I was watching you fighting bosses or something, and they describe someone as being from like the Empyrean.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's in the lore. That's like it's like Christian. That's like esoteric Christian theology and stuff. So like you're playing this game, which is like full of like like Renaissance like esoteric Christian theology and things like this, and like you probably have no idea.
Probably not. I mean, when it comes to Japanese stuff, there's a ton of influence, especially from like World War II and stuff. A lot of their art and media and stuff. But yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, like that's one thing that I find really funny is like people really like video games and it's like they play these games and you're not even equipped to like understand what like the artist who made the game is trying to say with it.
Sure, but I mean that's true of literally all media, right?
I don't know. I feel I'm like pretty good at reading.
Sure, but I mean, I'm sure there's like a ton of movies that you've watched that you've probably liked that you don't like recognize like some shots of being copied from other films. So they're paying like.
I'm pretty good on that though. I like film a lot. I like film, or you like more of a film guy? No, a lot, dude. I've devoted my life to this. This is what I do. You know? Like I take it as like a responsibility. I'm going to be telling people things, especially things that like disagree with sort of like mainstream shit. Like I have a responsibility to be like really fucking good, like knowing a lot and like reading a lot, like being very devoted to like research. That's what I do. I don't know. Do you like movies more? Are you more of a film guy?
Yeah, I guess probably more than at least reading at least.
Like manga?
Not really. I don't like comics at all.
Okay. No, I feel like you're probably probably hitting like diminishing returns on like your. I don't know if do you feel like you're like cool with like how you understand the world right now? Like, do you want to learn more about the world, or do you feel like you pretty much get it?
I feel really good about my understanding of the world, and I'm trying to constantly expand my understanding of the world. So yeah, I'll probably continue to do so.
How do you go about like expanding your understanding?
Just recently, we had a whole bunch of conversations related to trans people, so I had a whole bunch of like trans fans like email me experiences of being trans. Like, I'm
do you ever read about the history of transgenderism?
Depends on if I'm arguing the history of trans experiences in modern day trans experience.
Did you ever hear about? Do you know that there was a transgender Roman emperor?
Nope.
Elagabulus.
Okay.
Didn't say Simon Says.
Yeah. So that was a big thing in Rome. It's actually pretty like trad. I used to talk to the right wing guys about it. Be like, this is all very trad. This is all just Roman stuff. It's come back. Like we're just like Roman pagans in America.
Okay.
We have the Colosseums, you know, like the Super Bowl. You know, our celebrities are like basically like the gladiators. You're a gladiator, you know? You're like the esports gladiator, and now you like fight people politically. You like went from like, you're like what, you're gonna like be the gladiator who gets into the Senate, you know? Kind of Roman. Do you feel me on that? Do you feel me on America being Rome?
Maybe to some extent, but all right.
I mean, we are an empire.
Sure.
Do you agree that America is an empire?
Yeah, probably, I guess. Depends how you define empire, but sure.
I mean, then you'd say it's not a republic, right? So it's not a democracy. It's like an empire.
Well, I mean, it's obviously a democracy.
You think so? Hi.
So we vote on our elected leaders.
That's all it means.
Yep, that's what a democracy
like-
is. Yeah. Pretty big
As long as
part.
you vote on your elected leaders, really? That's not how it worked in Athens. That's not how it worked in like the Italian Republic, the Venetian Republic, or trading
The public
republics.
didn't vote on anything in there, but they
Carthage.
still call them democracies?
They didn't vote on the leaders, no.
What did they vote on?
Voted on issues.
Okay, so then they voted on things, right? We have a representative democracy. We can't vote on every single issue, so we vote
But
on
the people
leaders.
who voted were citizens. Citizens voted, and they voted on issues because they would like the Senate just be people like heads of families. See, they didn't elect their leaders. Well, I guess you could say they chose like families and clans that were supposed to represent their
Republic in either.
Russia has a democracy?
I don't think so. No.
They vote.
I don't know. Actually, no. Actually, I think I might have to be agnostic on that. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go.
Don't know if they vote.
I don't know if their votes matter.
Oh, your votes have to matter.
That's kind of the.
I feel like your vote matters.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel like mine matters. I don't vote. Like most
Probably
Americans.
why your vote doesn't matter.
Most Americans don't vote because most Americans understand that our votes don't matter.
I think most Americans don't vote because they're apathetic to the process. Your votes obviously matter.
Why are they
Leaders
apathetic? They're apathetic
For a
because
variety of
it
reasons,
doesn't matter.
but It absolutely does matter. How do we choose our leaders?
doesn't.
It's based on who gets the most votes.
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't choose our leaders.
Really?
Simple. Yeah.
Did the establishment choose Trump?
In a way, yeah, especially in 2020.
Okay.
And they wanted him over Hillary, like the GOP. At least a large enough segment, enough of the donors did. You could look at like Trump's donors in 2016 versus them more in his donors in 2020. There's like a
Didn't
big
Hillary
shift in,
Clinton
like-
have an overwhelmingly larger amount of donors than Trump did from large monetary sources?
Yeah, but Trump
So that
also,
that
like,
statement
had
is like totally contrary
donors
to
from
your
like the
point.
Mercers. No. He got a ton of money from the Mercers in 2016, but they didn't give him money in 2020.
I don't know what that's supposed to prove.
I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, like, you know, the establishment did approve of having Trump, right? They didn't do a Bernie to him. I guess he couldn't. He was like more anti-fragile, but like
No, but
obviously,
had to
like
do a
Bernie could
to
have
him because
won.
Bernie couldn't have won. Bernie lost
Oops.
in his own party.
But why?
Because he's not that popular.
Why isn't he popular?
Because his policies aren't that popular with the American people.
What policy is unpopular?
Medicare for all was not as popular as he thought it was. The fixation on education. Yeah, basically any number of.
That because like consumer research and like PR firms and stuff did polls and like interest groups, and they found that these things didn't poll as well. That's like how you're gonna say this is like true, is because like
Based on the
is
widespread
that
opinion
PR
of like
firms
American people.
that tell us that?
I'm sorry, did you talk to every single American so you know that that's not true? Or?
Oops.
No, I don't feel the need to like I just make statements that like I don't care about like trying to buttress like a sociological point with like polls and things like that. I just
How
sort
do you
of,
understand
you know, I kind
sociological
of
issues?
ability to
How do you think social
I
science?
don't believe in the social sciences.
Okay, how do you use
I believe in
science?
hermeneutics.
What does that mean?
Hermeneutics. It's the science of like reading. It's like how to interpret. It's like the science of interpretation.
What are you reading to figure out what most people in the United States think about a certain policy?
I read themselves. Like, you know, I read like a lot of different people from like all over the place.
So
all
you
over the
have
spectrum.
read the opinions of all the Americans. Like what your statement doesn't mean anything.
Read a
It's
lot of
nonsense.
opinions
That doesn't matter.
from a lot of different people.
At some point, you're going to read so
Does
many that
matter.
you might as well just be doing polling. Because you're talking about like getting statements from like a ton of
I don't think
people.
that's true because polling only gets people who are attracted to like doing polling, right? Or like, you know, who are gonna like sign up
Writing things down. I mean, like you're selecting
True.
bias either way.
True. I'm not claiming this to be a scientific process. I'm saying
You
this is a
literally just said
process
you
that-
like to use science to
Oops.
figure this out.
I mean in the high sense of science, not in the delimited sense of like
So like in an
empirical
scientific way then,
research.
so in things that have nothing to do with science, but you like it makes you feel better about the process. So whatever you're describing is
I'm
science.
using the word as Leibniz. You know Leibniz? I'm using science the word that's science, but like hermeneutics is not science.
That's fine. I just got confused because you said
That's fine.
science.
I know. See, like we run into confusion sometimes because we use words but we mean different things by them, right? But we can still communicate our concepts. We can also understand like the disjunctions and like possibly the history of the disjunctions of these definitions, right? There's like a whole genealogy to like the synonym, like our own opinions of it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't know. I mean, do you wanna talk to me about anything? I don't know. I'm just like picking your mind. I feel like you're interesting to me because you're like a very like you have all of the correct liberal opinions. Like it's like you might as well have gone to like an Ivy League university and gotten trained in all of this shit. It's like amazing to me. Like you have the exact same arguments as like an adjunct TA at the philosophy department at Harvard.
Okay.
Like, just saying.
I like
You're like a utilitarian.
That would be
like a
the
utilitarian.
mainstream safest opinions.
It's not mainstream. I'm saying you have like you've adopted like very high prestige opinions, even though that's not your like class background. You're like from I know we have the same fucking background. Right? I know your background. Like you're like a working class. You're like from the working class. You're not from like sort of like bourgeois sphere. You like ascended into it, right? But like that's not where you're from.
Sure. Yeah, I don't
No, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just saying, like, my.
No, I understand. I'm just, I don't. Yeah, I think of my opinions that way. Like, do I match up enough with like the ruling class opinion structure? That's what I think about.
I mean, you kind of do because like that's like where all of your like when you point to like authorities, right? Like you're pointing towards this like nexus of like elite like professional academia. You like really like the like authority of like the educated, right?
I like to trust like authoritative. I like to trust like empirically validated processes. I think is important. And then if people want to have more qualitative discussions, I think that's fun too, as long as we understand the limitations of those discussions. So when I'm trying to figure out,
Do you think that there's limitations?
Yeah, there's limitations to everything. Yes.
Okay. Like, is there limits to like the empirical data, like the study of empiricism? Does empiricism have limits?
Sure. Everything has limits. Depends what we're talking about, right? Like we can't empirically validate art as good or bad, for instance. That would be one limitation.
Yeah, you can't empirically validate someone's politics as good or bad. So then it comes down to like really we're discussing like what story, like what world do we
Well, we can like empirically validate like how many people
the
support
world?
like a given policy, right? That might be an important question to ask.
I don't really think that matters that much. Idea of the world, like what people like are trained to think about something doesn't even mean that they're necessarily trained to like say what they really think. But like a lot of the times people are just sort of like repeating like received opinion.
Sure.
They haven't really like investigated the matter for themselves. Or
That's probably the vast majority of people's opinions on the vast majority.
I agree. I think that's we have a massive structure for the molding of the mind.
I think that life today is really complicated, and I don't think we've ever been that informed of the history of all of mankind on every single issue. I don't think that's the case.
Well, I would say that like when you're talking about the Republic of like the early Americas, that was like the most literate, like engaged population in human history at the time.
I don't know if that's true. Back then, weren't we
It
originally?
is true. You just got to read it. You got to read their debates, man. They were like, quote, they were
Hold
very.
on. Wait, hold on. Back then, didn't we didn't even have like normal citizens voting on the president? No, I thought that only people with like land could vote and shit, and literacy rates were not that great.
Depends on what you're talking about. No, I'm talking about Massachusetts.
I'm talking about the
17th
early
century.
United States of America, which is what you were talking about. Wasn't it true that back then that
Said
like
the Republic.
okay, the 13 colonies like.
Well, the 13 colonies weren't all one thing. They weren't governed as one thing. There were various like types of governance in the 13
Do you think the
colonies. But
literacy rate in
had a republic.
Massachusetts was it higher than like the literacy rate in the United
It's higher
States?
than anywhere in the world. Had laws for public literacy. They were called the Old Deluder Satan laws. It was like a public need to educate everyone on how to read so that they wouldn't be like ensnared by Satan, of course.
Do you think that the literacy rates in Massachusetts then were higher than the literacy rates in the United States now, or?
Yeah, I actually probably think they are. Like we have a very high like effective illiteracy rate. Like literacy rates have actually been declining.
And this is before black people were allowed to learn how to read, right?
Well, these are the people who would like later be teaching black people how to read, right? Like we're talking about the Puritans. Like they like black people, like that's one of the saddest things. No, black people
Keep
had like a
hating your
very
life
strong
then,
literate
working class
culture. They
Andy.
really valued the written word and like learning how to read because they were disbarred from it. So like they like I think they still do. I mean, I think if you're just gonna say there's like a literary culture in America,